There's a war being fought right now across the entire globe. It's a massive conflict with billions of casualties every single year, and it's all being waged by one sprawling empire. But you've probably never even seen it, because this war, it's being fought right under our feet. And to really get a handle on the scale of it all, we've got to start with just one single startling number. Okay, so look at this. 53%. According to one study, this is the average drop in the number of animal species in an area after a certain kind of invader shows up. Think about that. That's more than half of all the local animal life just gone. So you have to ask, right? What kind of predator is so ridiculously effective that it can just slice an ecosystem's diversity in half? Are we talking about some new apex predator? Some kind of super virus? What could it be? Well, the answer is way, way smaller. It's a silent invasion of non-native ants, and they're getting around the world entirely because of us. They hitch rides in shipping containers, in potted plants, and once they get a foothold, they just start to conquer everything. So how in the world do these tiny creatures become such an unbelievably powerful destructive force? Well, it turns out they have a few secret weapons up their sleeves that make them incredible and incredibly successful invaders. Yeah, these invasive ants have a seriously powerful toolkit for taking over. For starters, they are not picky eaters, which means they can thrive just about anywhere. They also have multiple queens in their nests, which lets their colonies grow and reproduce at just an astonishing speed. And of course, our own global trade network is basically their personal taxi service across oceans. But their true secret weapon, the real key to their empire, is their ability to form what are called super colonies. So, what is a super colony? Well, think of it as one giant, unified ant society. You see, normal ant colonies are super territorial. They're always fighting each other. But members of a super colony, they can wander from one nest to another, even if it's hundreds of miles away, and be treated like family. This total lack of infighting, that's their greatest strength. And this brings us to the most successful, most dominant invader of them all. A species that has taken this super colony idea to a truly terrifying extreme, the Argentine ant. So scientists studying these Argentine ants started noticing something, well, something bizarre. When they took ants from different nests, even nests that were hundreds of miles apart, and put them together, they didn't fight. Not at all. They acted like they came from the exact same home. So then they took it a step further, a huge step. Researchers grabbed ants from the massive super colony in Europe and introduced them to ants from the super colony all the way over in Japan. And guess what? No aggression. They did the same thing with ants from the giant colony in California. Still nothing. They all acted like long-lost relatives. The conclusion was just staggering. These weren't separate super colonies fighting for dominance. No, they were all part of one single global mega colony, one unified empire of possibly 1 trillion individual ants, spread across at least 3 continents, and they all descended from the same tiny group of ancestors. It's so vast that the researchers basically concluded the only thing you could even compare it to is human society itself. It's an entire civilization of ants, one that we inadvertently helped build. And here's the wild paradox at the heart of their success. It's a weakness that somehow became their greatest strength. Back in their native South America, Argentine ants are really genetically diverse. This means they form small rival colonies that are constantly wasting energy fighting each other. But the tiny group that got shipped around the world, they lost all that genetic diversity. They're so similar now, they literally can't smell the difference between a nestmate and a stranger from 1,000 miles away. To them, it's all family. All that internal peace means they can redirect all of their energy and aggression outwards. They form this powerful, united front, just wiping out native ants, other insects, even small lizards. But it also means that when one of these massive, genetically distinct super colonies runs into another one, the result is total, unending war. And I'm talking about a war unlike any other. In San Diego, the border between 2 rival Argentine ant supercolonies is a battlefront that stretches for miles. The fighting is constant. An estimated 30 million ants die on this one front every single year. The fighting only stops when it gets too cold or when it rains. This isn't just a raid, it's a perpetual meat grinder. So you might be wondering, is this kind of endless, total war normal in the ant world? And the answer is a resounding no. It's actually super unusual. To see just how strange these Argentina ants are, let's take a quick look at how other ants handle their conflicts.
Some ants have evolved strategies that are way more sophisticated than just brute force. I mean, take slave maker ants, for example. These guys are absolute masters of espionage and chemical warfare. So instead of just killing their enemies, these ants conduct these incredibly complex raids to steal the pupae and larvae, the babies, of other ant species. They then raise them as slaves to do all the work in their own colony. And to pull this off, they use a whole arsenal of chemical tricks, from perfectly mimicking the host's scent to releasing what are basically propaganda chemicals that cause total chaos and panic during a raid, completely shattering any organized defense. Then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you've got species that have evolved to avoid these big, costly battles altogether. And army ants are a perfect example of this. When two different army ant colonies run into each other, they don't fight to the death. Instead, they engage in what's called ritualized conflict. Workers from each side just line up, face each other with their massive jaws wide open. It's all a show of strength. It's a standoff, kind of like an ant Cold War. They posture, they show off their power, until one side decides it's just not worth it and backs down. No mass casualties needed. So whether you're looking at the total war of the Argentine ant, the chemical raids of the slave makers, or the standoffs of the army ants, it's pretty clear these are amazingly complex societies. But the Argentine ant's global invasion, well, that's a problem of our own making, and it has a very clear, very devastating impact. The pattern is just tragically predictable. First, we move the ants. Then they establish a new colony that just explodes in size. They wipe out the native ants, which are crucial for things like dispersing seeds. And then the ripple effects begin. Animals that depend on those native species start to vanish. The coastal horned lizard in California, for instance, it's in severe decline because the Argentine ants have completely eliminated its main food source.
And all that ecological damage comes with a massive economic price tag. I mean, just look at this. Across the globe, the total cost of invasive ants, everything from crop damage to trying to manage and control them, is estimated to be nearly $52 billion. That is a staggering bill for an invasion that we started. Totally by accident, we enabled the creation of the largest, most warlike empire on the planet, a kingdom built on genetic uniformity and endless conflict that is now reshaping ecosystems all over the world. We built their world. The question that's left for us is, what are we going to do about the one they're destroying?